what is going to be unique about the way that you approach that? Where's your thought leadership in the conversation that we're all talking about? It could be anything about.
I am so excited to have my friend Jennifer here today. We are going to talk all about PR, traditional PR, and what PR looks like.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell everyone listening a little more about you and how you sort of went from TV to what you're doing now.
Yes. So I'm a journalist. I'm a journalist by trade. I worked in the industry for over 15 years in television as well as radio, a little bit of print, and I circled a lot of the media newsrooms, right? So getting the ins and outs, as a reporter, producer, and a writer. So seeing all aspects of it. And early in my career, I also did a little bit of camera work, which is what's so interesting. So if you are a TV reporter looking to run a business, you actually have all the skills, right? So which is why I think I've done really well. We approach PR in a very different way from the perspective of a journalist. I know as a journalist working in newsrooms, journalists don't like PR people. They become a block, right? So they became a block to getting the story. And if a PR person is involved, you assume that the pitch or the story pitch is going to be embellished and it's not an organic story. And journalists are all about transparency, getting to the truth of it all, not being fed marketing material. So my approach to PR and helping women entrepreneurs with PR was really from the perspective of a journalist. So when I think about PR for entrepreneurs, I want you to be able to tell your story. I want you to be able to lean into what's most interesting about your perspective. So many entrepreneurs get it confused when we say my story. They think it's about me and my journey and all those things. It's not about that. It's about your unique perspective. So if you're a healthcare provider, for example, and you specialize in nutrition, and maybe you specialize in nutrition where you, are coaching your clients on how to go vegan, what is going to be unique about the way that you approach that? Where's your thought leadership in the conversation that we're all talking about? It could be anything about the prices of eggs or the prices of, meat or things like that. How is your expertise connected to thought leadership? How's your expertise and your thought leadership connected to the media's news cycle?
So that's really interesting. And I agree with you in the sense that so many practitioners, coaches, business owners are like, I'm a yellow duck. Like I blend into the crowd. Like what makes me special? What makes me unique? There's so many other people doing what I do. And I think there's something to be said for understanding the uniqueness of why you do it and how you do it, and really being able to, in a creative way, and maybe we can dive into this a little bit more, relating what you do to something trending, relating what you do to whatever it is that's going on in the news cycle. Do you want to just maybe elaborate a little bit on that? Because I don't think that people might understand what that means, because they want to come at it from, an academic perspective. Like, this is what I do. And it's like, that's boring.
Yeah, it is boring, and it's not going to get you booked. It's not going to help you land media. And, the other part of landing media, I will dive into exactly how to connect your thought leadership to the news cycle. But the other part of that is like leveraging that media exposure, right? So making sure that whatever you're pitching is grounded in your thought leadership. So for example, many women listening could probably relate. I'm a woman entrepreneur. I'm taking a look at the calendar, a literal calendar from January to December. Where can I pitch my expertise, right? This doesn't have to be so closely connected to the news cycle, but I know International Women's Day is coming up, right? I know that month is coming up. So last year I pitched a story all about what it was like to start a business with 2 kids under 3 and how I made that successful, and some of the tips that I have for bringing the money in, because at the end of the day, it's not a hobby, right? It's an actual business that needs to generate revenue. And I got picked up by the Globe and Mail, which is our national paper here in Canada. And I have now leveraged that piece of content to constantly, when people constantly approach me and ask me, how did you get started? What inspires you? How did you go from TV to PR? That is my little social proof, if you have it, right? The Globe and Mail has given me their stamp of approval with a full page, description of what I do and who I am. So that's one example. International Women's Day. We also know, and this is about just understanding what's happening in the world. Like everybody will know, that month is International Women's Month. May is Maternal Mental Health Month. Maybe there's an angle there for you. What is it like? What is the stress like when you are trying to juggle it all, especially during the pandemic in the last few years? Many women were in the positions of being the sole breadwinner, the sole childcare provider, maybe even the breadwinner in my situation. How do you juggle that, right? Journalists are looking for stories. Yeah. That's a story.